So guys, in today's video, we're going to be doing report cards for every NFC team. I know it might seem a little premature, but we're a quarter way done with the year. And we're not going to be doing plus or minuses. These are just strictly letter grades. A, B, C, D, maybe an F. I don't think there's been a team that really deserves an F through 4 weeks. But before we get into our first team, guys, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, please, we really appreciate this, leave your feedback down below. I want to know what you think of your favorite team. So with all that being said, let's get into our first team. My team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to start with the positives for this team. The defense. Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell becoming a shutdown corner, a mini breakout from Jordan Davis, and honestly, maybe Defensive Rookie of the Year Jahad Campbell has really just made this unit special. The other guys too, of course, but I just wanted to highlight these guys. Dude, the offense has been struggling, and the defense has been the thing that's keeping the ship above water. Now, we haven't had the easiest slate of games, right? We're 4-0, we've beaten the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Chiefs. Those are 4 tough opponents, but that doesn't excuse the way the offense has looked. It's been bad. Jalen Hurts has struggled. Saquon Barkley can't find running room. The O-line, not as good as last year. And of course, we know about AJ Brown on Twitter. We got it. There's issues on offense. They need to be cleaned up. But through 4 weeks being 4-0, I'm going to give the Eagles an A. So let's stay in the division and go to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 1-2-1. And I'm not going to lie to you, week 4 had a big impact on this grade. It was probably a D before the tie, but I'm going to give them a C. Look, they had a good game against the Eagles on week 1. They dropped the ball in week 3 against the Bears. They beat the Giants in week 2 in a big shootout. But week 4, we have to talk about week 4 really quick. This was the game. They needed to show they were capable this game, and they did. I know the defense needs a ton of work. They can't keep giving up 40 points every week. But Dak Prescott played like an MVP without Tyler Booker and CeeDee Lamb. And they honestly looked good. Like, Micah Parsons wanted out. Everyone was clowning them. And for them to tie and not just let Micah wreck the game, it meant something to the people of Dallas. The optics of the trade look a lot better after week 4 than they did throughout the season. So the Cowboys, you get a C for what you've done so far. Now onto the Commanders. They sit at 2-2, but guys, it's been kind of a rough year. They haven't had Jaden Daniels the last 2 games. They went 1-1. I'm just going to give them a B. We need to see a lot more from them. We haven't got to see Jaden Daniels, like I said, with Deebo Samuel. Terry McLaurin's banged up. I know we've had some fun with them, but look, they're still going to be a good team as long as Jaden Daniels is healthy. The defense is solid. I know it's been a little bit of a regression, but the Commanders, you're solid 2-2 for what you've had to deal with. You get a B. And to round off the division, we got the New York Football Giants. Guys, they get a C just because of Jackson Dart starting, looking good, and beating the 3-0 Chargers. Look, weeks 1 through 3, they were rough. Russell Wilson don't have it no more. We should never have started him. I think we know this. But there is some hope for this team. The defensive line has played really good. I like the fight the defense has had. And with Jackson Dart taking over for Russ, I think the athleticism he brings to the position is just going to help them in the long run. So I'm going to give them a C to round off the NFC East, and we're going to move on to the NFC West now. And let's start with the Rams. Look, the Rams are an easy A. They're 3-1 right now. We all know they should be 4-0. If Philly doesn't block that kick, we're talking about them maybe the best team in the NFC. And for my money, they are still one of the best. Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyren Williams make up one of the best offenses, and they've been really good with Sean McVay. The defense, I wasn't really high on them to begin the year, but of course that D-line is going to wreak havoc every week, and they're really well coached. And they got guys making timely plays. Landman made a big play week 1. Their corners are making plays. Cameron Kitchens is a really underrated safety. They're an A. And you know what? So are the division rivals, the 49ers. This is a team that's kind of had a different path than the Rams. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. I know, nothing new for the Niners, right? George Kittle, Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk. Now they lost Nick Bosa for the season, but they just keep chugging along. I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but through 4 weeks, they get an A as well. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Mac Jones stepped in, looked good. And I'll say this, Ricky Pearsall, he might be a real difference maker. I know last year he didn't get to do much because he was shot, but this year, making big plays and big moments, and he's really helped the Niners offense keep up the pace without George Kittle. The A's are going to keep coming. The Seattle Seahawks are going to get an A as well. They are 3-1. They lost a really tough game in week 1 to the Niners when they were driving down the field, but they responded in a big way. They demolished the Saints, they beat the Cardinals, and they had a really good showing against Pittsburgh. Look, Sam Darnold has not turned into a pumpkin like a lot of people thought. He is balling. Jackson Smith and Jigba is making his case for the best receiver in the division. And one thing Mike McDonald has done tremendously in year 2, that defense is playing lights out. The pass rush is getting after people. Byron Murphy stepping up. Devin Witherspoon, when he's been healthy, has been extremely good. The only thing missing from the defense is Tariq Woolen. If they can get him to just go back to how he was playing before, this could really be the best defense in football. So they get an A, and then to round off this division is the Arizona Cardinals. And man, they have been exactly the Arizona Cardinals. They're 2-2. They're going to get a C for what they've done. Guys, it's just more of the same stuff. They look good for quarters. They struggle and stuff. They couldn't close out the Saints. They couldn't close out the Panthers. And then they lose to 2 good teams, the Niners and then the Seahawks. That's just the same old stuff with Kyler Murray. He just does enough where the team doesn't want to turn on him. And then I don't know what's going on with Marvin Harrison. I'm not selling on him. If you watch the buy, sell, hold video, I think he's going to bounce back. But the Cardinals need to figure their crap out. It's enough. Enough is enough. You can't just keep going 2-2 every year. So they're going to get a C. Now let's go to the NFC South. For the NFC South, we're going to start with the worst team in the division. We're going to start with the New Orleans Saints. Look, they're 0-4. They were maybe the only team I thought about giving an F, but I'm going to give them a little grace. They're going to get a D. Other than the Seattle game, where they got blown out in just record time, they've been somewhat capable. They've played every team tough. They've had 3 close games against the Niners, Cardinals, and Bills. And other than the Seahawks game where they just got blown out, they've been fighting teams tough. No one's expecting them to be good. They need to get some wins soon so the team doesn't turn on Kellen Moore. They've been bad, but they're fighting. So I'll give them some credit. So next we're going to go to the Carolina Panthers. They sit at 1-3 through 4 weeks. And they're just a team that's a mixed bag. We've had 2 good weeks. We've had 2 really bad weeks where Bryce Young just doesn't want to be out there and everything looks like a mess. I'm not really sure what to make of the Panthers. I'm going to give them a C, and I will give them one thing. They hit on Tetairoa McMillan. He is the truth. He is the next great Panthers receiver, and he's a front runner for Rookie of the Year so far. And so next, we're going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. They're 2-2. Guys, they get a B. I know they dropped a stinker against Carolina, which made no sense. But you know what? I've liked what they've done. Michael Penix played a tough game against the Bucs in week 1 where they lost by a field goal. They had a great showing on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings where all those rookies on defense showed out. Jalen Walker, James Pierce, Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts. They hit on 4 picks this draft on defense where they sorely needed it. And then on offense, we know they're loaded. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and even Kyle Pitts is looking good. They're a young team. I'm going to give them some grace. I'm going to give them a B, but they need to patch things up in the second half of the season and just get a little better. And to round it off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are atop the division 3-1. Dude, they get an A. They have been through a lot of injuries already, and they're still 3-1. Baker Mayfield has played like an MVP candidate. He's just throwing the ball all over the place to Emeka Egbuka, who's looked awesome as a rookie. Chris Godwin's back. They're going to be missing Mike Evans for a couple weeks, but I still have faith in Baker in the offense. And on defense, they're still coached by Todd Bowles. They're a tough unit. They played the Eagles tough. They showed their fight. I'm going to give them an A as well through 4 games. And so now, guys, we're going to go to our last division, the NFC North. We're going to start with the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 3-1. They got punched in the mouth week 1 by the Packers, where they did not look good at all. A lot of us were saying, Aaron Glenn's gone, Ben Johnson. It's just a lot to lose. And I will say this, they have responded amazingly. They destroyed the Bears and Ben Johnson's return to Detroit. They went into Baltimore on Monday Night Football, took care of business in a really tight game. And then they didn't fall into a trap game of the Cleveland Browns. They're 3-1. They're atop the division. And frankly, I think after week 1, a lot of us would have said, we don't see the Detroit Lions being atop the division, okay? So they're going to get an A. Now we're going to go to the Packers. The Packers looked awesome through 2 weeks, guys. They were the best team of football, it looked like. But the last 2 weeks have been kind of a smear on the resume. They didn't take care of business against the Browns. They lost that game because of a blocked field goal. And then last week against the Cowboys, they tied. They're 2-1-1, and it's just frankly a weird record. And I haven't loved the last 2 weeks. I'm going to give them a B. It might be a little bit of an overreaction, but I just haven't loved what I've seen from the Packers the last 2 weeks. So they get a B. Next, we're going to go to the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings are a weird team for me to grade. I'm going to give them a B. I know they're only 2-2, and I know we haven't really seen a lot of JJ McCarthy, but there's been some positives and there's been kind of some negatives. The defense is still really good, and Brian Flores is still a mastermind. We know this. But the offensive line has really held this team back. Darisaw not being there, they're going to lose Brian O'Neill for a few weeks. JJ McCarthy, like I said, he's hurt. Now they've turned to Carson Wentz. Look, 2-2 is pretty good for what they've been through. I'm going to give them a B. And then for the Bears, they get a B as well, for a little bit different. They haven't really dealt with injuries. They lost a tough game in week 1 to the Vikings. Week 2, they got absolutely destroyed by the Lions. We were kind of writing them off, but the last 2 weeks they bounced back. Week 3 was the best showing for Caleb Williams his whole career. That was like a peak of what the offense could really look like if they figure it out under Ben Johnson. Rome Odunze is having a huge breakout. They turned over Geno Smith 3 times. Then they blocked the game-winning field goal for the Raiders to go to 2-2. The Bears are trending in the right direction, guys. They're going to get a B. And with that, we've covered all 16 teams in the NFC. Like I said at the start of the video, we appreciate you guys checking in. And please, let me know what you think of your favorite team. Hey, maybe you're a Saints fan and they deserve a B. I don't know. I'm not a Saints fan. I've never met one. But guys, please comment down below what you think. Like this video, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. And make sure you check out our AFC report card as well. Juan is taking care of that one. He's going to knock it out of the park. I'm Max from MJC Sports, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.